Hey guys, I thought I had a video on this, but actually it turns out I don't, so I'm just going to do it again. Basically, I just want to kind of talk about how you extend chords, talking about extensions basically. Kind of a useful thing if you're into jazz, or if you just want to kind of spice up chord sequences. It's really, really handy, really useful. If you're a vocalist, adding sevenths or just adding extensions in general will give you kind of more places to go. It just makes your music kind of sound more interesting. So, what do I mean by extending chords? In pretty much every video I've done so far, I've talked about making chords up in a major key or in a minor key or in the various different minor keys. I've been dealing with triads. Okay, now triad is just basically a three-note chord. Okay, it is possible, and jazz musicians love to do this, to extend those chords. And basically, all you're doing is all a chord, a major or a minor chord, are major or minor thirds stacked on top of each other. By extending those chords, all you do is just add another layer. You're just putting those on there. Okay. Now, there are different types. You have a seventh, a ninth, an 11th, and a 13th. I'm going to focus mainly on I'm going to focus completely on the seventh now, but I just want to explain what they are. So let's just take a C major chord here. Okay. We know that that's the first, third, and fifth from our major scale. So adding the seventh is basically just adding the seventh note on. Okay. A ninth, this is where it gets a little bit more complicated. A ninth, 11th, and 13th are the octave up. So this is going to get a bit complicated, but I'll explain what I mean. So I'm going to do it to a C major chord, okay? We have our root third fifth, which is C, E, G. Our seventh would be the B, that's totally fine. The ninth is a D, so you could think of that as the second, but an octave up. The 11th is the fourth, so you could think of that as the fourth up, an octave up. And the 13th is the sixth. So if you play all of those together, you get this, which is basically every note of the major scale played over 2 octaves. You would never actually do that because I'm currently using, well, you can see I'm currently using 2 hands and I'm kind of crossing over and it's a bit ridiculous. So what you do is you kind of substitute certain notes thing, which I'll talk about in a bit. But let's just stick with sevenths for now, just so we kind of get the idea of how this happens. And the process is exactly the same as when you're building up triads against a major scale. You have to look at the notes that are in your scale and use those notes where they're needed. So let's go through the process and you'll see what I mean. So let's take our C major chord. We're using the notes of C major as always because of my horrendous piano playing and the fact that it's easier. So we take our major third, or take our perfect fifth, and then we add that major seventh on top of this. So chord 1 in a major key is what we call a major 7 chord. Little disclaimer here, there are 3 types of 7th chords, so I'm going to go over those as we kind of go. So we've got a major 7 chord, okay. Chord 2, as we know, normally it's a minor chord, D minor in this case. Again, we add the 7th in relation to our root, if that makes sense, in relation to the root of our kind of chord. So I wouldn't play the major 7th of C because that's the major 7th of C, not D. So I have to find the major 7th of D, okay, which is actually C sharp. Okay. As we know, we're only using the notes in the key of C, so we can't use a C sharp, so we have to use the available C, which in this case is C natural. So if I take a D minor chord and I put a C natural on the top, we get this beautiful sounding chord. It's called a minor 7 chord. Oop, there we go. Wrong note in the bass. So that's a minor 7 chord. Okay, so much like the diatonic series in triads, minor, major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished. This one, very, very similar. We've got major 7, minor 7. The E, exactly the same, will be another minor 7. Again, just go through the process. The major 7th of E would be D sharp. We can't use the D sharp because it's not in our key, so we have to use the D. So it becomes a minor 7 rather than a major 7 on top. F. The major 7th of F is E. That totally fits within our key, so that becomes a major 7. So at the moment we've got major 7 for our chord 1, minor 7 for our chord 2, minor 7 for our chord 3, major 7 for our chord 4. That fits the pattern major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished. Okay. Then we come to chord 5. Okay. Now, chord 5. Let's go through the same process. Chord 5 in the key that I'm in, which is C, would be G. Okay. The major 7. That's a major chord. The major 7th of G is F sharp. Okay. Now we can't use F sharp because it doesn't appear in our key, so we have to use the available F, which is F natural. Okay. So we get this different type of 7th chord, and this is really, really important because it only happens once in any key. It creates what's called a dominant chord, a dominant 7 chord. It's so important, in fact, that when you see it written, if it's a G, it'll just say G7. A major 7 would say C, M, A, J7. A minor 7 would have a little M and then a 7. This just has the 7. It's the dominant 7 chord, okay? And it's important for a ton of reasons. Probably the most importantly is the fact that it really supports that kind of that tension going back to chord 1. If ever you're going from chord 5 to chord 1 and you want it to sound even kind of more kind of potent, make it a dominant 7 chord, okay? But remember that it only happens once. It's only chord 5. Chord 5 is always a dominant 7 chord, okay? If you played a major 7 chord, it takes it out of key and it doesn't work, okay? I've got a whole video on dominant chords somewhere, but just, you know, take it as read, that's what it is. So we've got major 7, minor 7, minor 7, major 7, and then we've got this dominant 7 chord 5. Then we kind of revert back to type. We have chord 6 is a minor 7 chord. Chord 7, okay, the name is complicated, but when you break it down, it's not. It's called a minor 7 flat 5, okay. If you think about it, that makes complete sense, because as we know, the diminished chord, the reason it's diminished is because, let's do this in relation to the key of C again. If I play a B major chord, I can't use the D sharp and the F sharp because they don't appear on our key, so I have to flatten them both. So let's just say I've just flattened the 3rd for a second here. If I add the 7th one, that becomes a regular minor 7, but of course I've got to flatten the 5th, haven't I? So it becomes a minor 7 with a flat 5. Okay, and that's the diatonic series in 7th chords. Okay, so chord 1, major 7, chord 2, minor 7, chord 3, minor 7, chord 4, major 7, chord 5, dominant 7, the important one, chord 6, minor 7, and then chord 7 is this minor 7 flat 5 chord. Okay. Again, you can play around with these, and you don't have to use 7s all the time. You can extend kind of differently. If you are extending further up, just remember that you have to use the note from the scale. So if, for example, let's say you're going to play a D minor 9, you're going to have to put an E in there. Okay, and unfortunately that kind of works, because even if it was a major kind of interval, it would be the same. It gets a little more crazy when you get to the 13s, but you know, and you can of course alter those as well, so they're a little bit more kind of free and easy. That's kind of it. It's just a question of memorizing them. The pattern's the same: major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, diminished. Just remember that chord 5 is going to be that all-important dominant chord. Again, any questions? Let me know. Give me a shout, and I'll help you out. Cheers.